Hello and welcome to this guide where we're going to be looking at how to create a Google form, and then there's going to be some advanced videos later on how to turn that into a quiz, so do check those out. We're going to start off in our Google Drive. One of the easiest ways to start making a Google form. We click on our new button in the top left hand corner and we go down to more, and then we find Google Forms. If we click on this, and it's going to open up our Google form for us, and it will always open up with a very generic kind of look and feel to it, and it will work in the same way as many other Google applications. So if we can just start creating our form here, we can have fun quiz, and then as you see there it's saving, and I can click in the title here to save it into the folder. Now automatically we can type in our description, so make sure we spell things right, and it's just for fun. And so then we're going to start thinking about some questions. And so we could ask a question: what is the capital of England? This is where we want to think about what type of question we want, and this is where on the drop down here you have a number of different options. We could have something here like a short answer, because we would expect most people to know what the capital of England is. But if not, we could actually choose something like a multiple choice, where we can then put in some options. So we'll put in the correct answer, and so we'll give some different options that they can then select. We could also do the add other button, so that means if they don't think it's any of these, they can put in the answer they want. Other options you have here on the question is, if you want it to be a mandatory question, you can click that and it's now required. Other options you have here, and this is for all types of questions, is to duplicate and to delete. Lastly, you always see these little three dots, and that means there's some more options available there. So let's click on that, and that's whether you want to show a description, where you can put some more information. Let's go back to our three dots. And this is also where you can move around your Google form. Now, it might be that if they answer this, it takes them to a certain section or along later on in the form. One great use for this could be to create action and adventure type booklets. I remember doing something like this when I was young, where I'd read a book, and depending on what you wanted to do, you would turn to a different page. And so this is just like that, and you can go to a different section. If we want to then add another question, we can click on the plus button, and then we can think about another type of question. So we could say, what is this flag called? And so again, this is where we might want to add an image. And so we have an image option. We can upload files or connect them to our Google Drive, but I'm going to use the search. So these are files I can use copyright free, and so I'm selecting the file I want and it puts it in slowly. If I want, I can resize this, and then I can align it also or remove it. So therefore I could then have, again, multiple choice. We're going to change this one to a short answer though. So this is where I would expect them to put the answer in there. And again, I'm going to have this as required. So we're going to add our next question in, and we're going to choose a different type of question. So you have checkboxes. So you can say, which of these are part of Great Britain? And then I'm going to have a number of checkboxes, so I could say Wales. So a number of different options there. With these, I could also add an image. So if I wanted to add an image for Wales, I could add the flag in for the different countries. And as you can imagine, I can just do that throughout all the different countries. Then if we add a new question, again, let's look at our drop down. We can add a drop down set of questions. So this could be, who is the Prime Minister? again, we can add some options. And so I've got some different options there, and then that will appear as a drop down. Again, let's add another question. And this is where we have another option here to do a file upload. And this is a new option. And this means it lets a respondent upload files to Drive. So I'm going to continue there. And so depending on what you want to do, you could ask them, submit your homework on Britain. And so they can add a file here, the different size that you allow the file to be, what type of file you might want it to be, and that's something they could upload that to it. So again, I'm going to make that required. Let's do another question. This is where they get a little bit more technical, a linear scale question. So how easy, hard did you find the homework? And so therefore I've got a scale now of 1 to 5. Number 1 is easy and number 5 is hard. And then the last question we're going to show you type is a multiple choice grid. And so again, I'm going to go into my political history. And so I can put in a question here, Winston Churchill. And then in the columns, I'm going to put yes and no. So I'm going to add some more. And obviously you can add more options there. And so we've done all of our types of questions. Other things you might want to add in is some title and descriptions. So this is where I might want to break it up or add some more information. So I can add this in, and I could call this Prime Ministers. I could add some description in, but then if I want to move it around, I can then just drag it to where I want. You can see this is all the different types of questions. So I could then, this one on Prime Minister, I can then move down. The other thing I can do is create sections. So I might think Prime Minister isn't the greatest title, so I'm going to add a section instead. And again, so it's added the section there. So what I might then need to do is move these back down into the right section. So I might say, actually my new section is going to be called Prime Ministers, and therefore I can delete this heading. Other things you can then do is add an image in. So if I want to add an image for that, I can find something here. And it adds the image. Now where's that gone? So again, I might want to move that a bit further down. So there. Another great option is to add a YouTube video. So if I wanted to add a video there, I can do my search. Some Prime Minister's question time, I can add that in. And what I could then use that for is to say, watch this video and then ask some questions about it. So we've got all our questions in there. The next thing we want to think about is how this looks. So if we go to our color palette, we can just choose a color if we want to change the color of it. But there are a number of different things we can go to and select and find something very interesting. So if we just want something generic, you can obviously upload your own photos and albums as well. So I'm just going to go for this preset one, and so it will color it accordingly. Once I'm happy with this, I can then do a preview. This brings up my quiz, and this is how other people will see it. Here you can see me just going through the different answers of the questions. Now as a teacher, what you can see is then you have one response. and it will show you the answers from that response. And so I can look through. Once you've got more, it will then compile all the responses you get. And so you can either look at in the summary view or the individual view. And this is where in the individual view, you can see what the different students have answered. You can also then export that to a spreadsheet. So I'm going to create that. It will export that to a spreadsheet, open that spreadsheet up, and therefore I can have my answers in a different format. Going back to my quiz, the last thing we're going to do here before moving on is look at our settings. Settings allows you to collect email addresses. That means that only people who log in using a correct email address will be able to submit answers. It also means that you know whose answers respond to who, and they can receive a response if they wish. So that means they will get their answers back emailed to them. You can restrict it if you need to a certain company like we have here for the Lead Academies Trust. So if I then go back up, if I want to then change it to presentation, I can then add a progress bar, I can shuffle the questions. If I want them to submit another response, I can leave that ticked, but if I don't, I untick that. And I can add a little message, so when they submit it, I can say, well done. Do check out our other training videos on Google Forms, because these will be showing you how you can then change this quiz into a self-marking homework. I hope you have found this video helpful. We have many more training videos on our training site and YouTube channel. You can also email us with any queries.